Hi, I'm Carcino.
Oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
No one knows Carcino and none of these.
There's so much going on in the world, and I'm just giving my 2 cents on it. Go in and do a raid at someone's house, but you don't have an arrest warrant for them. What's good? What's good? What's good, man? Hit the like button up. Everybody out there, y'all know what time it is. Get your popcorn ready. What's up, nephew? Appreciate you. Really do. We're once again caught in a dilemma. Because Stephen A. Smith has once again, well, they trying to block the reach of the video, so we know their game by now. But the show goes on. Now, Stephen A. Smith once again involves himself in a free form while he's on vacation. He's on vacation. But he can't help but to keep going live, even on vacation. Which means that he could chill, relax, he ain't got to do nothing. You're on vacation, bro. Enjoy yourself. He feels compelled to have to go live and speak to people. Why? You're on vacation. Be on vacation. But this goes into a realm of psychosis that is this need for attention, this need to be heard, this need to be right. All the time. That's this desire, this need to be the guy. But let's listen to him. Because he got triggered because Draymond and Jamel Hill are basically talking about Jaylen Brown. And he's mad at them. They're both black, so you know they're targets for Stephen A. And he couldn't wait.
Listen, he's great at what he does. I think, he's arguably the best at what he does, right? And that's your lane, respect, cool. But I also think where the line gets blurred in a negative way for journalists is he throws out the journalist tag all the time. I am actually a journalist, this, that, and other. But to your point, there isn't the going in the locker room. There isn't the, he comes in the arena. You really don't get next to him. You don't see him. And so, you
talk to people, but it's not the same.
Exactly. And so right. you say all of these things on television. Jaylen Brown has been very outspoken about it, the anonymous sources and all of these things, right? Like you say all of these things on television and then you throw out the word journalist, which almost makes people, especially athletes, not respect journalists because you're throwing out the journalist tag and then you're doing that and and people don't respect it and there's no accountability, right? So, the first thing you just said was I write a column, I show up the next day to stand in your face to see what you're going to say. If you need to say something, if you feel like we should, but when that term is thrown out now, no one's given that same opportunity. People spew all these things out there, and you're not given the opportunity to go face to face. And when you do, a la LeBron James, then it's this whole thing of like, oh my God, I had an opinion, and now they're not happy about my opinion, so they come to my. And so I don't think it's approached with that same integrity that you're speaking about, which ultimately, I think it leaves all journalists in a bad spot because you're not technically viewed as what you just said a journalist is.
No, I don't think people look at us that anymore. And that's not to say that, journalism 20 years ago was perfect. There were certainly issues and that sort of thing, but there was just more respect that went both ways. Respect didn't mean favor. Respect just meant fairness. That's it. And I am a little disheartened by sometimes how personal it seems to get, because my rule of thumb always with television is I'm not going to say anything on TV I can't say to your face. So if I say on TV, not you personally, but if I say on TV, hey, you flopped. Yo, when I see you, I'll be like, yeah, I said you flopped. And this is why. So that way it's you don't think that this is coming from, a personal place. And the hard part that can be difficult as a journalist is discernment. It's like we get told a lot of things. And I think players sometimes don't realize how much we get told and how much we actually don't say versus what we do say. And you have to always keep in mind, what is the agenda of the person telling me this? And so that's what I thought was very interesting about the Jaylen Brown discourse is why is there all of a sudden this driving narrative about how he is some kind of analytical disappointment? Like, where is that coming from? Who stands to gain from this? What is the purpose and why is this coming out? And even the idea that he got, smartest man in the room syndrome, which is a bizarre.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I mean, what they were really saying, what they was really saying.
Let's circle back to Stephen A. Smith, because what Jemele Hill is pointing out is that these analysts are essentially telling Jaylen Brown to shut up and dribble.
Exactly. And Stephen A. Smith, who's on vacation, could not wait to jump in and give his interjection on the situation because, of course, he's Stephen A. Smith. So, my name was mentioned. I got to jump on this wagon. Even though the subject is about Jaylen Brown, he wanted to interject the fact that when they had the discussion where his name came up, and Jemele Hill didn't really say anything about it, really. She was just responding. Draymond had the most to say. Stephen A. Smith, who's been pretty much a politic the whole time, Stephen A. was just so enamored to go after a black woman.
And if you're enjoying the video, drop a thumbs up. It really helps support the channel, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
What you laughing about, Jemele Hill? Somebody that's not in the locker room? Are you implying that you've been in the locker room more than me in my career? Is that the implication here, Jemele Hill? See, this is what gets to me. And I'm going to be very respectful when I say this because I'm trying to be respectful to Jemele Hill, who I always show respect for. You just going to sit up there and listen to Draymond Green and forget the fact that I was a beat writer, high school, colleges, pros, for the first 20 years of my career? And that I earned the right graduating through every step of this industry before I became a general sports columnist to not have to be in the locker room all the time? You just gonna let him say that? And there's no course correction whatsoever about the industry and the fact that my position was earned? Draymond Green, just so you'll understand what I'm saying to Jemele Hill, my brother, because I want to make sure you get this. When Skip Bayless challenged you to come on his show on Fox and you retorted that it's a waste of your time, he don't have a snowball's chance in hell of coming at you or getting you to come on his show. He's done. He's the past. He's finished. That was one thing you said. And then you had him on your podcast, your show. And it was an entirely different tune that you were singing.
Damn.
You never invited me on Draymond Green's show since we haven't spoken. But you could give Skip Bayless an opportunity to have a conversation with you man to man, albeit in front of the cameras and the microphone. You've never accorded me that opportunity. You're just going to ignore all of that. Ain't going to come at me like that. You bring up LeBron James.
You brought up a good point with Skip.
You are absolutely right, Draymond Green. I'm not in the locker room too often anymore. Would it happen to be because I got to wake up at 7 o'clock every morning for a morning meeting? Because I do a live television show that's #1 in the mornings for 14 consecutive years and counting. God has blessed me with that. And I have obligations where I can't afford to wait to be in the locker room when y'all go in there and then you go in the shower and you take your time getting dressed and the media is supposed to wait for you. If you know you have my number. Not only that, folks got my number. They can call me. And there ain't an athlete alive or anyone associated with the world of sports that knows me that doesn't know if you want to see me, all you got to do is call me and tell me you need to see me, and I'm going to make it happen instantly.
So that covers Stephen A. Smith's response to Jemele Hill.
That's a lie. Because he's been running from Kwame Brown forever. Forever, y'all. So the fact that he would take this approach is typical Stephen A. Smith and his whole repertoire of emotions towards Draymond Green. He's mad that Draymond Green isn't speaking to him anymore. For some reason, this bothers Stephen A. And the fact that he went to, because he was like, you used to be my boy. I didn't know we had a problem until I heard you go on the show and said that's where it started. So he's bothered by Draymond Green. Every time Draymond says something, it bothers him because he'll go to everybody else, but leave him out. But when he wasn't speaking to him before the LeBron incident, he got mad because of the criticism he got over what Draymond did in the game when he choked out Rudy Gobert and all that stuff. So he felt Stephen A. came at him in a way he didn't like. Kwame got him on the run. Stephen A. is all of a sudden can talk to everybody in the world, says he doesn't run from the smoke. Kwame Brown has called this man out constantly and said, let's have that conversation. He does not want to sit down and have that conversation with Kwame Brown because he knows exactly where that's going to go. It's going to get, what gives you the right? What gives you the wherewithal to say these different things about me? You see what I'm saying? These type of things had to be called out and adjusted for, and they weren't. Here's the truth of the matter is this. Kwame Brown knows more about basketball than Stephen A. Smith. Kwame Brown was a better basketball player than Stephen A. Smith. So how can you tell this man he's wrong? How can you tell him he's wrong about something that you don't understand? Because see, it's the thing is, it's not about being right or wrong. It was all about sensationalism. And see, what he's saying is we can't do that anymore like we used to build that show up. So to build that show up, he didn't know that tape was going to be, because there was no TikTok, no Instagram. Hell, there wasn't no YouTube, really. for that to just start breathing on its own and catching a life of its own, right? And being shared all across the globe. No, Kwame blew up because nobody really heard him talk in 20 years. Not about like his treatment and what he's been going through. No one heard all that stuff before. And when you heard it, people was like, yeah, he's the underdog. The industry didn't like that because they were like, oh, well, we're ready to embrace you, Kwame. Just come in and read the script that we got for you. Pat LeBron on the back, and we'll guide you all the way. See, they wanted to bring him in. See, that's the part that people don't understand. Once they realize how big he is, they're like, oh, wow, this guy's massive. Like in 1 month, he got over 400,000 followers, easy, naturally, with no algorithm, no help, just the people out there. Once they tried to bring him in, and Kwame was like, basically, get your fucking hands off me. Y'all did this to me, and now you want to embrace me. No, hell no. I don't want none of y'all speaking on me. And that right then and there is when they really circled the wagons and said, okay, we got to take this guy's power away. We got to start stripping him down. And all of them people who with their pom-poms cheering, you start seeing them turn against Kwame Brown because they were just there to use him to get what they can get. In this game, you don't know who's real and who's fake because everybody's digital. You don't know who's a real person and who ain't. I mean, you see me outside. I go outside, I do things. But everything about me, pretty much is right there. You ain't got to go that far to know me. I remember he was on Facebook and people would follow him on Facebook, but I'm barely on Facebook. So I'm on Facebook to talk to like my family members and stuff. That's about it. I'm barely on there. So that's why I don't promote my Facebook because I'm like, I'm barely there. Right. That's why it has so much impact because he was just living his life. You see, he wasn't out here trying to be an attention whore like a lot of these other people. So when Stephen A. Smith kept running this whole gambit of what he's been doing and getting away, running his old stick, it came to a situation where it just came to a head. So after he made that addressment, and it pissed Draymond off when he brought up Skip Bayless. You said you wouldn't go on the show. Next thing you know, here you go, and it ain't got the same tone no more. Stephen A. was basically saying, you tap dance.
I'll be like, yeah, I said you fucked.
What you laughing about, Jamel Hill? Somebody that's not in the locker room? Are you implying that you've been in the locker room more than me in my career? Come on, where you gonna stop dancing around issues involving me and tell them what's up? You and I were pretty tight. And then after the choking incident with Rudy Gobert and the slap to Yusuf Nurkic, I upset you because I called you and said it was difficult to defend you. I'm not saying anything out of pocket or personal because this is what you said to Shaq on his podcast. So it was already public information. It's the only reason I'm revealing it. I'm not saying anything else about any of our conversations throughout the years, my brother. We've never talked since that time. But can you at least acknowledge to the people while you're talking publicly, if we're keeping it a buck, that when you went on Shaq's podcast and you said that that's the first time I knew you were upset at me? I didn't even know.
You bring up the Rudy Gobert and the Yusuf Nurkic incident because that's Stephen A's way of trying to lessen the impact of what you may say back. I'm going to throw out these negative ass things that happened with you many years ago that you've come back from, that you've moved past. I'm going to throw those things out to try to gather an audience, to try to gather a crew to be on my side, a base of people to be on my side. So I'm going to throw these things out to remind these people that may have been upset that you did that because they may not like those types of things or whatever. I'm going to remind them of that so they can be on my side when I say this. A typical Stephen A thing. You know, he said we have not spoke since. I think that, you know, those things happen to be right around the time where a lot of people in the industry felt like this dude took this sharp left turn. And all of a sudden became like this, you know, you speak on Jaylen Brown. The problem I had with Stephen A and Jaylen Brown was when you called him out like a mob boss. When you sat in front of the camera and spoke as if you saw him, you was going to do something to him. That's the problem I had when speaking about Jaylen Brown. The issue that I have, and by the way, it's not a real issue because people, again, I go back to the statement I made about Shams, which these are in two completely different capacities. But get your money how you get your money, man. Like, I'm not mad at anybody for how they get their money. That's including Stephen A. So for a guy who actually, yes, what he is right about is we were pretty tight. As was Stephen A with a lot of guys, by the way. Like, that wasn't just me. I think and being in the media space, I think we had built even more of a relationship because he is the guy in the media space. You know, when you look at him, he is right up there at the top of the chart with Charles Barkley and, you know, for the likes of people like that. Like, you are that. I'm not some hater. I'm also a truth teller. You very much so are right up there at the top, and very appreciative throughout the years of the advice given as someone who's continued to try to elevate and learn and work in this space. So yeah, those are all facts. Just like a lot of players having a relationship with you were facts until you started to disrespect players as if you were a player. There's a fine line. And Jamel and my conversation was about this. I mentioned Stephen A. Smith's name because Stephen A. is the one that's always speaking on being a journalist, on how his background is journalism. And by the way, no one ever doubted that. If you watch what Jamel and I were talking about, Stephen A., the problem I have is you get upset about the very thing that you do. You get so upset and bent out of shape about the very thing that you do. For instance, I had a problem with Jaylen Brown or whatever. Let's see, I'm going to go back to the quote. Y'all forgot the fact that I did a sit down with him face-to-face in Boston a year ago after he had a problem with what I said, when all I said was what other people said. Number one, say what you say. And if you're going to quote it, stand on that. All I said was what other people say. You can't always throw it to somebody else. You said it, and it's fine. By the way, regardless of what other people said, if you say it, it's yours now. If I go sample a song, every time that song come on and I sampled Jay-Z's song, every time that song come on, they ain't gonna say Draymond Green's song sampled by
Draymond Green. Jalen Rose had called this situation out. You can tell he's fed up with the current state of journalists, especially the ones that have podcasts, because these guys now are using any type of situation of beef to promote their next podcast episode, right? Like what Jalen Rose said, calling out the media.
Jalen Rose said the most phoniest thing amongst media members is beefing. Then saying, I'll go on your show or vice versa to discuss it. See, chasing clicks. Lame. I'm telling you, Jalen Rose is still upset with Stephen A. Smith. And we're going to get to this too. Because she said, oh, and consider this an invitation. You absolutely are invited to be on my podcast. I'll be in touch. Like you, I don't duck smoke. So he wants to go on her platform. Cool. I hope she's going to ask him some real questions. No one asked this man any real questions. That's the problem that people have. The distaste that they have is that no one sits there and wants to actually tell the truth. And that's all I'm saying is like, tell the truth. This man has been getting away with the same shtick for all these years. So all Jalen Rose was doing is pointing and putting a flashlight on him. And let me tell you why Jalen Rose is this way. Okay. Jalen Rose is this way, people, because Jalen Rose don't like this man. He can't stand him. It's not because everybody believes it's because he didn't stand up for Jalen Rose for the job at ESPN. He knew Stephen A. Smith wasn't going to do that. Stephen A. Smith pretended to be a brother to him. Stephen A. Smith pretended to be a friend, an ally. But the whole time, he was working in cahoots with this whole industry during this man's marriage. This man was sitting there married. Okay, married. Married to Molly. And no, it was never Molly trying to sleep with Stephen A. Smith. That was never happening. But here's the situation. They knew all of these rumors was out there. And Stephen A. Smith and ESPN and the execs wanted to keep this thing going. Even Molly kept this thing going. But these people were having marital problems. Okay? And you use that for exploitation. Rather than to tell the people the truth. That no, me and Molly don't have anything going on. You chose to stay quiet, keep your mouth shut, and let all of this go on at this man's expense. ESPN, every sports person's nightmare, they let it be known Richard Jefferson pokes this girl under the arm, Malika Andrews, and everybody thought it was Jalen Rose who did that. And they kept letting that ride, that Jalen Rose did this kind of thing. Again, nobody on ESPN would say anything about the incident. Not even Malika Andrews. And he was tired of all of this phoniness and this fakeness that's going on, but it's at his expense. It's nobody's business why him and Molly split, but it's a real simple thing. Nobody was cheating on anybody, in case y'all needed to know. Jalen Rose lost his mother and grandmother in like 6 months. Molly lost family members on her side due to the pandemic. They both was in a rut. Plus, she moved to New York because First Take moved from California to New York. And he told her to quit the show. Just quit the show and get another thing. Don't go to New York. She went back to Connecticut, to Bristol, Connecticut, to relocate when the show relocated in New York. He was in Cali. That was going to be the problem in the marriage, the location. Now they don't see each other. They both, and Jalen wasn't in a good space. He was going through it, and she didn't know how to be there for him. And it's marital problems, stress like that in a marriage, dealing with loss, things of that nature. It is a very difficult situation and a difficult time. And when people are suffering and you don't know what's wrong with them, suicide and things like that you don't want to talk about is on the table, so people are going through all of these different things and you never know what's going on behind the scenes. But for the sensationalism, everybody wanted to use it for sensationalism at this man's expense. Because why? It was going to get them clicks and views. Now, Molly and the girl that Stephen A. used to mess with had problems. We have a lot of people that like to, make their own innuendos about what happened, who did what. But Stephen A. Smith has always been this guy. And that's the cold truth. His past is fabricated. All the things he talked about, his athletic career, fabricated. All of these things has been proven. If you were great at basketball, you wouldn't have been in a trade school. Where he didn't pick up a trade. All he did was pick up this trade of BSing people. What he used to do when he was failing the 3rd and 4th grade, instead of being smart, he played smart. I'm going to play like I'm smart. And it didn't fool the teachers. And they failed his ass in the 3rd grade and the 4th grade. Then they found an excuse for his ignorance. And they said, oh, he's dyslexic. He suffers from dyslexia. But his father always put him down and said, just give it up. The boy's not smart. He's not smart. And Stephen A. was the baby boy and a mama's boy. Mama always came to his aid. So the father is who he had to disdain for, because the father, like his other son, who was named after him, that was his son. That's who he liked. And he died in a car accident when the van flipped over. He was the only one that died. So when that happened, Now Stephen is the only one left. And it felt like, his only son had died. That's why he would never write this book while his father was alive. Because his father would definitely show him he's not the bigger man than him. He was scared of his father, like a lot of them. The whole house. And he's had daddy issues he never got resolved. And now his father's not here anymore and his mother. That's why he was able to write the book, saying, I promised her I wouldn't write this book while she was alive. Because he didn't understand how his father had all that control over his mother and how loyal she was to him. Because she was raised a different way. Now, what Stephen A. don't really tell you the majority of the time is that Stephen A. Smith is mixed. He's a mulatto. He got a white grandmama. Yep. And he never mentions his black granddaddy at all. But his granddaddy married his grandmama, of course. And they went through a lot of hell being married to a white woman at the time. So Stephen A. Smith's mother was mixed. She had a white grandma, and Stephen A. stayed with the white grandma. Every weekend, you go see his white grandma. But never speaks about his black grandfather. Sound familiar, don't it? Sound very Sage Steele, don't it? How they discredit their whole race and go right over to the white side of everything. Yep, remember that, Stephen? You got a white grandma. She does not use mustard. She uses mayonnaise. You say, what is this? She is not afraid. Ain't no potato salad. It's just coleslaw. You got a white grandma. No pity pat, no uno. Just mama's on the porch. Everybody saying they're eating with your fork. You want to play spades, but she playing bridge. You got a white grandma. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, man. Hey, everybody know this about him. But the way he did his the way he did Jalen Rose, pretending to be the friend, pretending to be the guy that's there for you and supportive. Yeah, he pretended to be that guy. He's like, I remember the song. There'll be some Caucasian people in our woodpile. Yeah, there's Caucasian people in our family. Not on my side, but I mean, my uncles have married white people, and I have, uh, yeah, that's about it. But not like from our family. My grandmother grew up, she's black and Indian, and my grandfather, they are black, blacky black, like part Cuban over there. We got all the way going back to like the African islands, like Saint Lucia, like those areas. What's that? Sierra Leone. Yeah, that's it. Sierra Leone. We go back that way. As far as all that DNA stuff. But yeah, my mother and father are both blacker than me. I came out lighter than both of them together. Both of them are way darker than me. You go indigenous. I mean, that's because if people go by all that stuff, that's what they would come up with. But Stephen A. Smith put himself in that situation, man. Like nobody really cared about this guy like that. He put himself in a box. So now he has to every day come up with these new things. And this is why he's failing. Because everybody knows what this is about. This is about you trying to follow the Pat McAfee blueprint. If you a membership on here or you're on my Patreon, you already know it. We already talked about the Pat McAfee situation and what's going on over there with the contracts. So he's thinking he's going to get a deal like Pat McAfee, and he's going to run into a rude awakening when he finds out that he won't get that. And he's trying to play the race card. Well, black man wouldn't have got that kind of deal. No, bro. The black community don't look at you as one of us. Sorry. When you never explain something that you should, because you keep running from the responsibilities, you keep running from the truth. This is why we don't respect you in the game. Nobody does. You see, that's the hard truth. That's the part that everybody else the athletes now have the floor. Athletes can grab a microphone now, sit there and tell their side of the story. No one has to listen to you or anybody else create a narrative. That's why ESPN is like, oh, I don't have to pay all these smart people to tell stories. We can get rid of them. We don't need them anymore. They don't. They don't need to run that narrative anymore. So that's why you see all these inexperienced people with no journalistic. You got a woman that couldn't even do sideline interviews. She was a sideline reporter. She couldn't do any of this. She's stuttering over all of her words. It was awful. And because she couldn't even do the simple thing that they hired her for, what did we constantly see? What was the narrative? Because we clearly saw what was happening. We saw Stephen A. Smith judge black people differently than white people. The energy he has for Dana White, that's my friend. Hey, that's my friend. You remember that? That's my friend. You know, see, this is what got us, like black folk, us. We don't like Stephen A. because we don't look at him as one of our friends. We don't look at him with any respect whatsoever. We see him and we see nothing but division. We see people that we don't want to be around. We see around people that don't want to be there. We look at people and we don't see anything that resembles anybody that wants to be around. Now, you see him trying to attach himself to Anton Daniels. When Kwame said, can we get that conversation, Stephen A? Let's get that conversation. He don't want to have it. Now, why wouldn't he want to have it? Why would a conversation like that threaten him? You ever thought about that? Why would you get so nervous over a conversation? Josh Giddey. They never mentioned Josh Giddey again. Everybody know this was his chick. Did anybody say anything other than? No. They let it all ride. Look how he went at Diddy, Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Von Miller. None of these people exactly. But this is what we talk about constantly when we start saying this is a situation that's always going to get ugly. Because he constantly does the same narrative over and over again. Like, we're going to go through the whole play. And people say, well, why are we going to do that? Because when you don't go through the whole play, when you start going through your other motions, you don't get to the real story. They set people up for failure. And as long as they're setting these people up for failure, it doesn't really matter what they do after that. People will forever fall for traps as long as somebody is there to keep setting them. Mm-mm. Man, if one thing you notice right now is that this sports media is really phony as hell. These dudes is phonies. They've been exposed. They've been called out. This is why we do the things that we do and we say the things that we say because we know what time it is in real life, in real time. You know, these guys are pretty much clowns. So Willie D called him out. Everybody calls them out because they don't get it. See, Stephen A. Smith has made a living off of doing this. This is his stick that he's gonna continuously run until the time runs out on the clock. It's got him millions. So why would he change up and do something else? He's just gonna follow what somebody else who's smart gonna do. He saw Pat McAfee do something that was smart and said, I'm just gonna follow him. Monkey see, monkey do. That got me $100 million contract. Sure, I can do that again. No. The essence of what we know when it comes to the sport of basketball, when it comes to football, we've seen all of the different aspects of what people say is perfection and the ESPN battle. Pat McAfee don't work for ESPN. He has a licensing deal. And he had a licensing to keep his own company. They have to pay out the money to go to pay for his company. Why? Because the numbers of his show was affecting ESPN. And they'd rather have that show under their umbrella, licensed, where they can get money off of it, than to have it on its own, getting money and taking attention and viewers away from their program. And you tried to use Pat McAfee as a shield to get what you wanted out of the deal. And the cold truth is, you're not Pat McAfee. You're not. See, Pat McAfee don't have to tear down black athletes. He don't have to find the newest black person to tear down. To get his money. He has to be interesting. He has to have a show that people can relate to, that people would want to hear. Yeah, well, when you one day meet destiny, then it's only right. They don't have it in them Because, of course, go out to Jamel Hill. She's a black woman, an opinionated black woman who no longer belongs to an affiliation of a network. You see, they can't stand my energy because my energy depletes them. My energy brings up that reality. Yeah, and this is what's going on in the world today with the sports media. Do you realize that they've cut the budget for sports media? None of you guys even knew about it. No, they're signing people on the internet. They got Cameron on the damn First Take. They're signing everybody off of YouTube on First Take. Why? Anybody that moves the needle. Cam Newton is on First Take. You have anybody that has any attention that moves the needle, right? They're drawing attention away. Bring them to ESPN. Cam and Mace, they're doing their thing. Oh, let's get them on ESPN. And they was like, well, why didn't they bring Mace on there? Look, Cam is a businessman. Mace do things based on faith or what he feel is right to do. If he don't feel it, Mace ain't gonna do it. That's just it. Well, many of the people who don't understand or see, they always come up with their notion, right? Yeah, that's what I told you. It's done. This is why ESPN's budget has changed. Most people don't understand it. I follow all of this, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. ESPN's budget has dropped dramatically. They've made cuts everywhere. They've cut it and closed down places, locations that they used to have for studios, and just like the cuts they made when they got rid of like everybody. Sports Center is almost dead. So they got one Sports Center show that's like flagging up, but First Take is starting to tank, and they're going to start removing contracts over there too and readjusting salaries. ESPN is once again faltering because they're losing the battle to the internet. Once again. So now you're seeing the narratives are changing. So Stephen A. Smith, when it's time for this new contract, he think he's going to get a deal somewhere because in his mind, he's always living to please massa. And the reason that he's paid is to be their junkyard dog. Oh, absolutely. If we did everything that they wanted to do the way they said, like, oh, you guys got to do it this way. Come on. Why do you think that they're losing now? Stephen A. Smith want to have a debate. We say, come on, let's do it. He tried to go to war with Pat McAfee. For what? Pat McAfee didn't want to do your show. He don't need to be on your show. Stephen A. Smith was never somebody I was fond of. He was somebody we thought was like, oh man, like one of the brothers. And then he showed you he's the sell you out brother. No. Now, yeah, well, let's take a look at that, for instance. I'm glad you stuck with me.
He had the audacity to come for the juice.
Came
Oh
out
yeah,
to O.J. Simpson.
he tried to come for the juice, man. Now the Jews don't like this man. The Jews don't like him, and basically believes he's more of the so-called coon than anybody. He can't say those words as it pertains to O.J. Simpson or this dude he's literally buck dancing. And that's his career, just buck dancing. Like, I'm gonna be the best buck dancer. Nobody's gonna out buck dance me. When we came up in here, I said when I get back in ESPN, nobody's gonna out buck dance me. No one's gonna talk about the brothers more than me. No, not here, not today. I won't allow it. No way, no one. So he's not gonna stop. Not this year, not yesteryear, not any year. He's not gonna slow down. He's gonna continue double down on the ignorance. Now, the only way he's gonna change is somebody make him change by saying, we don't want nothing to do with this guy. I'm not gonna even watch him. And that's what I do. I don't watch him. I tune him out. But people always find a gem, those who choose to watch what they want to watch. Knock yourself out. But he's very confident talking about other people, but he don't like talking about himself. Let's talk about that. Because you came after the Jews so adamantly. So adamantly. Right? You came after the Jews. But when they decided to surprise honor you and start talking about you ain't seem comfortable. You didn't seem to like that too much. Look at this, people. That's Stephen the Snake Smith. Watch this. He is so embarrassed.
Far from Winston-Salem State, which is where my colleague Stephen A. Smith went to school. Is this correct?
This is correct.
Wait,
you went to school?
He did go to school.
I did not
Stop
know
it.
he went to school.
Take a look at that photo. Woo.
Stephen A.
That's right, Stephen A. Throwback. So in honor of Stephen A.
He had no idea they were going to do this.
Vintage cutout of Mr. Stephen A. Smith. And from my understanding, you were a gunner. You were big with that three-pointer for what we were able to research.
I tell people all the
Look at
time.
that. Get me the basketball. We need the basketball.
Is that life size? It looks like he shrunk a little since college, right?
Please. Hey, if y'all noticed, the hairline was just a little bit closer.
A little closer.
Oh, Carrie, she's laying it on thick. So she knows she get to clown him and everything today. This is great.
Little closer, but that's how it goes sometimes.
No,
That's
it
all
still
right.
looks
Those are my
similar.
days. Hey, listen,
It's
that
still
was,
the
that,
same.
that was 25 years ago.
You guys give it up for Mr. Stephen A. Smith.
Our research uncovered that while playing at Winston-Salem State,
Yeah.
While trying to play.
you shot too many threes.
Yeah.
You missed too many threes. Which doesn't surprise me at all because now you talk too much and you miss way too many points.
Now, Stephen A. Smith is insulted. Now he's insulted. He talks too much. He don't like for people to tell him that. His nickname was Screaming A. Smith. He didn't like that either. And look how he's mad. He don't like it when it's on him. When the joke's on you, you don't like it. You can't take it.
I would like to add this. Yet with all of that said, I'm sitting up here with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, see, he got to get his shot in.
And by the way, another shot. Get him. My man here graduated from Vanderbilt. Next month, who's speaking at Vanderbilt? It ain't you.
Oh, no.
That would happen to be me.
Why are you speaking at Vanderbilt? What your ass doing at them colleges, boy? You ain't no hell of a nigga. That mama's cooking. What you doing speaking at them colleges, boy? That's what I want to know. That's what the world want to know. You ain't no hell of a nigga.
What has my school come to?
That's right.
Someone is holding up a sign that says to me,
Welcome
Skip,
to the Harvard of the South.
yeah, welcome to the Harvard of the South. That has been my affectionate nickname for Vanderbilt University, and I'm sorry, but Vanderbilt is the Harvard of the South. I'm sorry.
Stephen A. goes on a wild rant on O.J. Simpson because O.J. Simpson is getting paroled and put his own personal opinions in and stating them as if they're fact.
You don't get to do that. This was about a robbery with him trying to get back his own memorabilia, which, as he accurately pointed out, the state of California granted and gave it back. I think the state of Nevada, I'm sorry, wherever it was, they gave him back his own material, and that is that. So he definitely deserved to get out. Nobody's poo-pooing that. We all understand that for the letter of the law, the right decision was made. It's just that it's a damn shame that he gets to lean on the letter of the law. And the state of Nevada and the parole committee had to lean on the letter of the law because he's somebody that I believe doesn't only deserve to be in jail, he deserved to be under the jail. This man, as far as I'm concerned, is a double murderer. He's somebody that should never, ever, ever see freedom again, but it should be for the murder, for the double murder. It shouldn't be for this. But since it was just for this, the right decision was clearly made, and that is that. As it pertains to his behavior, how he conducted himself, I thought he showed his arrogance. I thought he was incredibly loquacious, entirely too talkative. The first advice that you receive from your attorney is to answer questions as succinctly and as concise as possible, to say very little. He talked entirely too much. I thought that was not the wisest thing for him to do on his part, but I thought that the parole committee was an absolute catastrophe. You had one individual there that was going to grant him parole that was wearing a Kansas City Chiefs tie, clearly an NFL fan. But in the case of O.J. Simpson, it was on the air every day. We saw the trial. We saw the evidence. We saw the ineptitude of Christopher Darden and to a lesser degree, Marsha Clark. We saw Judge Lance Ito and some of the mistakes that he made. We saw Johnny Cochran adroitly, skillfully, brilliantly play the race card. We saw Mark Furman get exposed for what he was. And so when you see that bevy of evidence, this notion that you don't get to judge what your eyes was watching for over a 6-month span is utterly ridiculous. He's a double murderer. He should be in jail for the rest of his life. And the fact that he's scheduled to get out in October, he might be the luckiest man alive.
Loquacious. Oh, if that ain't the pot calling the kettle black. Screaming A. Smith is calling someone very loquacious. Shame. Boy, the irony in that. Now, this man continues to berate O.J. Simpson. He said the fact we saw the trial. Everybody got to see the trial. And guess what this man actually said after that?
As prosecutors, because if it were me, there's no way Darden and Christopher Darden and Marsha Clark did an absolutely horrendous job as prosecutors. Because if it were me, there's no way in hell Johnny Cochran would have beaten me with that evidence that they had.
So one of Juice's lawyers, who was on the trial, that worked with Johnny, decided to speak on the subject at hand. Once he heard Stephen A. Smith go on TV and say these things, every chance he get, he wants to take a shot at O.J. Simpson. Why is he doing that? Knowing that everything that came out in the trial,
I love Stephen A. Smith, but that is one of the least intelligent things I've ever heard from his mouth.
Really? You know, I mean, look, the guy can argue. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, if there's anything he can do, he can argue with the best of them. He's a smart guy. You don't think there's a chance in hell he could have, like, put together a case more compelling than what Marsha Clark did?
Evan, I don't think there's any chance in hell that he could ever do anything near as talented as Marsha Clark.
Since Stephen A. claims everybody saw the trial, then you would know what that is that's on the wall. Since everybody saw the trial, it was on TV. What did they say about the DNA evidence? Do you see what that is right there? During the O.J. Simpson trial, the one you said we all saw, don't you see? They took his blood, they extracted it, and at every crime scene, they used this thing called PCR to mix into this container. Would you know that some of the blood that they found at the crime scene had PCR in it? Your body doesn't produce PCR. So that means somebody took a valve that was mixed at the lab down there, got access to it, went back to the crime scenes, poured it in the white Bronco. And not only, this is when the white Bronco was being taken apart. The inside console, they found blood all the way in the bottom, meaning that blood didn't go on the seats. It didn't drip nowhere else but in the very bottom of the console. How would it get there? Because that was inserted when the car was being taken apart already in the lab. There's no way that blood sample could have got in there. And that blood sample did have PCR in the mix. And how did you miss that they confirmed O.J. Simpson blood vial was missing and one of Nicole Simpson was missing, and Ron Goldman. They had misplaced vials. O.J. voluntarily gave up blood, which he should not have done. But he voluntarily gave up blood because he knew he was not the killer. Now, why didn't you do this? Because this ruins your theory, doesn't it? This ruins your argument. So, you don't know OJ committed a double murder. Because if they're willing to do this, why would you trust anything else that they did, Stephen A? Why would you trust anything? Mark Fuhrman, who the prosecution knew was a confirmed racist. They put him on the stand. Everybody said this is a bad idea. Even the brother, Charles Darden, told them and his white superiors, who only used Charles Darden too because he was a black man, they needed a black face to be on the other side. This is what Charles Darden figured out later on. I was just a pawn. You didn't realize that, doofus? Then he want to be a defense attorney and still making bad decisions. You knew what Fuhrman was and you was ready to put him on the stand because y'all was so thirsty thinking, we got all this evidence. Ain't no way he gonna get out of this. You got all this evidence because somebody, no name, no blame, was trying to create it to get that conviction, to make sure this conviction gonna stick. But that didn't happen. What you did was create reasonable doubt. And in trial, Stephen A., who you thought you were better than Johnny Cochran, boy, you done lost your damn mind. You are not Johnny Cochran, sir. No way, shape, or form. What he was fighting was injustice. Hell, they took Johnny out. Johnny was causing way too much problems and headaches for the LA County. Because Johnny was passionate. But he didn't put it above his principle. They brought up his marriage, his affairs. What that got to do with the case? When it comes down to taking care of that business, Johnny knew what he had to do. And he wasn't going to disappoint. No way, shape, or form. Johnny was going to deliver. And he did. And he did. So I'm proud of Johnny. Proud of Johnny for doing what he did. Did something for Black people. Fuhrman and the LA group was out of control. Those tapes surfaced because it was supposed to. Like they said, manna from heaven. That was Johnny called it. Those tapes was manna from heaven.
And that's what it was. Manna from heaven. Because without those tapes, and the people got to public outside got to hear it. They kept it from the jury. They kept it from the jury. But now you can go back and listen to those tapes. How many other brothers that wasn't OJ locked up? How many other brothers? Railroad. They bragged about beating innocent men. They just broke in the house and just started beating a dude almost half to death. How you think when that black man heals, he gonna feel about the police, knowing he didn't do anything wrong? They did that because they felt like it. How that's gonna sit with you? And you taking their side. You taking their side.
Why Stephen A is bloviating like that about Jaylen Brown. We done played a lot of stuff before we got to Jaylen Brown. I wanted to entertain you. But now let's get to the topic after an hour and a half. Shout out to Dreamers Pro. I want y'all to hear the narrative about Jaylen Brown.
Of it. But as you guys know, recently, Jemele Hill and Draymond Green did a sit down on one of their podcasts, and they were talking about the ecosystem of sports media. And Stephen A. Smith came up, and Draymond Green had some comments about Stephen A. Smith, where he's like, look, you're not even in these locker rooms, man, and you're hiding behind sources and all that. You guys know Stephen A. Smith has the issue with Jaylen Brown and all of that. And then Jemele Hill, who is a journalist, who has a history in journalism, she just was laughing with him and agreeing with him. Well, Stephen A. Smith caught a whiff of these comments, man, and suffice to say, he was not happy, and he went on a long rant. And I want you guys to listen to it, especially towards the tail end, where he gets into the sports media beef, because that's where Jalen Rose jumps into the fray. Take a listen to the sound here.
Now they're not happy about my opinion, so they come to my, and so I don't think it's approached with that same integrity that you're speaking about, which ultimately I think it leaves all journalists in a bad spot, because you're not technically viewed as what you just said a journalist is.
I'm not going to say anything on TV I can't say to your face. So it's like, if I say on TV, not you personally, but if I say on TV, hey, you flop. Yo, when I see you, I'll be like, yeah, I said you flopped.
What you laughing about, Jemele Hill? Somebody that's not in the locker room? Are you implying that you've been in the locker room more than me in my career? Is that the implication here, Jemele Hill? I beg to differ. I was a beat writer and an NBA columnist for 15 years. You just gonna sit up there and listen to Draymond Green and forget the fact that I was a beat writer, high school, colleges, pros, for the first 20 years of my career? And that I earned the right, graduating through every step of this industry before I became a general sports columnist, to not have to be in the locker room all the time? You just gonna let him say that? And there's no course correction whatsoever about the industry and the fact that my position was earned? Now let me get to you, Draymond. Ladies and gentlemen, before I say anything, you will never hear me say,
before he say anything, he gonna bloviate something positive about him. That's what he always do. We get it, okay? But it's interesting that he never addressed the comments at hand. People are saying that you are a entertainer, a plant, if you will. You talk about everything else other than basketball. You obviously lied because you said you would talk to anybody other than Jason Whitlock, but you won't talk to me. You said you would pull up, I'll come to you. When you turn in the brick, that's how you sound. But you will not have a conversation based around Why do you talk about things in a way that's so negative and destructive that you cannot do? We heard a conversation between Shannon Sharp that sound the same way, based in little respect for what someone's craft is, especially when you cannot do it. I understand journalism, but you disrespectful ass entertainers that just sit and run your mouth because you got hemorrhoids and you're in front of a mic. It's interesting how you guys speak about things that you could not persevere and do yourself. So me personally, I would love to have a conversation with you, especially about why you went specifically to high schools and colleges about me. That's how you socially engineer the minds of other people. When you go to the youth, when you go to the younger generation, if you just wanted to tell me I was a bad basketball player, you could have told me. Why were you specifically going to the youth? You went grades behind me. You were going to colleges and high schools. So that's social engineering. So we just want to know, Stephen A., what is your origin? Who are you from? Where do you come from? And why do you talk so much, especially about things you can't do? Let me know when you're ready to have that conversation. It's got to come soon. You know what I mean? We need to talk. Okay? I can help you. Because right now, I know you might think that money is your God and you're starting to talk tough because you got more money. We all been there. I did the same thing. But you'll see very quickly that don't really save you from nothing. Okay? So let's talk whenever you get a chance.
A disrespectful word about Draymond Green. I love the brother. I think he's a good dude. Draymond, when you gonna stop dancing around issues involving me and tell him what's up? You and I were pretty tight. And then after the choking incident with Rudy Gobert and the slap to Yusuf Nurkic, I upset you because I called you and said it was difficult to defend you. I'm not saying anything out of pocket or personal because this is what you said to Shaq on his podcast. So it was already public information. It's the only reason I'm revealing it. I'm not saying anything else about any of our conversations throughout the years, my brother. We've never talked since that time. But can you at least acknowledge to the people while you're talking publicly, if we're keeping it a buck, that when you went on Shaq's podcast and you said that that's the first time I knew you were upset at me, I didn't even know. You never called me and had a conversation man to man. I never knew you were upset. All of a sudden, we stopped talking. Prior to that, I didn't have to be in a Golden State locker room at that time to talk to you. As is the case with me and a whole bunch of players y'all will never know about because a lot of players don't reveal that they speak to me. Nor do coaches, nor do executives. Because if you reveal that it's like that, how would I give access to the information I get access to?
Easy, Stephen A. You get access to the information that you get access to because they know you're going to run your mouth about it on ESPN, dummy. You are a puppet. You run your mouth. You take private conversations and personal feelings about a person and you give it legs. You were the only guy that keeps coming up with information about Jaylen Brown and how he thinks he's the smartest person in the room. The guy went to Cal. He might be the smartest person in the room. He might actually be smarter than your white owners that you so love to put money in their pocket. Newsflash, Stephen A. Did you ever think about that? And why haven't you, Mr. Q Dog, Mr. I'm down with the blacks? How come you never spoke on all the good things about Jaylen Brown? The Black Wall Street comments, his charitable nature, him going to actual impact the neighborhood, him being accessible to the children. Why don't you talk about those things? Because you can't not like a guy that's going to do all those things. But the reason why you didn't do that, you know why? You're there as a little Django, little punk. You come to the defense of Jerry Jones. You come to the defense of Dana White. You don't come to the defense of Jaylen Brown, a black man who has no scandals, who is college educated, who go foreign and domestic to seek knowledge, who can build a rocket ship damn near. You don't take up for that guy. You don't say, this is a good brother. We need more brothers like him. He has no scandals. This is that. You do none of that. Why he look like he hurt? He always hurt. Salute to you, bro. You don't stand in the gap as an elder and say, I'm not gonna let you slander this man. I don't give a F if you think he's the smartest person in the room. Look at his work. Judge his actions, not his words. He's a winner. He's an educated man who has no kids, no scandals whatsoever. And you guys can't pump him up. You keep wanting to put one-sided narrative about somebody that we don't even know to be true. We wasn't in that room. We don't know what he said. We don't know if these owners might be tied to some racism. And as soon as Jaylen Brown said Black Wall Street, it took them back to a time where they burned and bombed the whole goddamn city because they knew what that meant, the independence that they brought, the circulation of wealth that it meant. And you got a league of rich players that Jaylen Brown brought awareness to. Same thing I've said now that I'm gone. He's talking while he's playing. He said, and I salute him for talking while he's playing because this is risky. Here it is. This guy can't make the Olympic team when he's one of the best players in the league. Look at the sacrifice that everybody always talking about they want a black person to make. Y'all need to make a sacrifice. You athletes need to make a sacrifice. Jaylen Brown sacrificed being an Olympian to build Black Wall Street and talk about it in Boston, a city where you know the tension. This man has done everything he's supposed to do as a young man. And what does he get in return? Silence. Why Ben Crump can't go for a living black man that's being crucified in front of the whole goddamn world? Ben Crump, do you only like dead black people? Do you only like unalive black people? Because that seemed to be the only time Al Sharptongue and Ben Crump come out is when the black person is unalive. Where's all these lawyering skills for Jaylen Brown when we can see corporations are backing off of this young man who's trying to build Black Wall Street and he's done nothing wrong but be great at basketball, who do nothing wrong but win and did nothing wrong but get educated. The same shit that y'all say we all should do. This man is being raked over the coals for doing it. And they're using media pundits like this clown, and they're using other media pundits to keep perpetuating a narrative that this guy think he's too arrogant. He's too smart. Now, we know the history when white folks talk like that. Jack Johnson used to have to win a boxing match and not celebrate the boxing match. He used to have to knock a white guy out and go, I accidentally did it. So we know the term uppity beep, beep. So we know there's folks, and it's deep rooted, that they do not like a black man that stand up erect and knows what he's talking about and confront you on things. There's women that don't like it. There's white, black. There's a lot of people. The most dangerous thing it seems to be is a erect black man, not in a sexual sense, but who will stand up for what's right and who will speak out and who is intelligent and who can speak with the best of them. They do not like this man because you cannot just tell them anything. You want to highlight John Morant, but then you want to discredit a person that's on the total opposite of John Morant and Jaylen Brown. How is that? Stephen A., if you want the boy to put the guns down, we got a Jaylen Brown that never touched a gun. So we know. Why don't we highlight the good things? You always want to talk about the bad thing. Why? Because you a script reading. Beep. It's simple. Jaylen Brown would have to pay them. No, what it is Jaylen Brown has the blueprint so that black folks don't have to make it to the league and then their wealth get transferred from one family to the next family. Jaylen Brown is trying to help expose what I said I was going to help expose, which is the go along, get along game. These players, despite the baby mama, despite the whoever else, you could look through all of these players' financial documents and there's a manager, there's somebody taking their money. And it's working in conjunction with these banks. These banks have accounts and have things that require managers. And these basketball players, they don't know no better. They just put their money into that. Businessmen and other people do not give their money to anybody. They are in control of their own funds. They don't have no accounts where they can't access. They have money movers, but they don't have people over their money the way that our Black community has it. The reason why we don't have a Black Wall Street or Black anything is because our athletes, our rappers, our professional people, they're not in control of their money. White people are in control of their money. These same banks and these Baphomets and everybody that y'all talk about, they're in control of these guys' money. From the agents, they bring them the financial advisors to the tax people. All of this stuff works hand in hand and it's in conjunction. When a player make it, the agent find them a tax guy. The agent find them financial people. And it's all wrapped into one umbrella to get on their ass. And at the end of 5 years, they don't have nothing at the end of the day. And then you guys believe it because you guys will be like, oh, it's an athlete. Oh, they always spend their money. Oh, everybody don't have that story. Trust me. But the one constant in most of the stories is somebody took some money from somebody. Somebody doesn't want Jaylen Brown starting to undo the CIA and the SPLC hard work, keeping us down at 13% by not owning nothing, killing each other in aborting conditions, not having families. We'd outnumber them by now, for real. Hey, you mean we? Let's see your goddamn face, boy. Yeah, slicker than the motherfucker talking about we.
Oh, they tried to snipe me. They tried to pay the piper to snipe me. Ain't that crazy? Took away the sound, everything. My goodness. See how they operate? Oh, yeah, we're going to have a lot more in store. We ain't done yet. But don't forget, we got on the Patreon, we got the DMX. What happened when Jay-Z and Beanie Siegel ran into DMX? Yes, we got the Marcellus Wiley, his wife, and that big Nigerian dude in the back. We got that story going. And of course, right now we got the Wu-Tang stories, episode 1 on the Patreon right now. So I'm trying to slow feed everybody. We got a whole log jam full of videos over there to go out. So Adam Silver trying to block me. He probably is, but I don't think he's going to block me for Stephen A. He can care less about him. That's like not even part of their concern is what happened with him. They be like, oh, Stephen A. Oh, nobody care about Stephen A. Continue.
Lamar halftime performance, she's up for criticism, whether it's good criticism or bad criticism. So, old boy, just like the rest of us, I'm talking about Serena's husband, don't like pussy ass Stephen A. Smith. That's what that's about. Stephen A. Smith for pussy.
And you know this, man.
We all know this. And this is what I want to say about Stephen A. Smith. I mean, like, Stephen Jackson brought this up. It was such a real point. When black people have an issue with Stephen A. Smith, he ready to check him right away.
Oh.
Stephen A. Smith punked out when it comes to this man coming on his show talking to him like he wanted to talk to him. The girl who was the co-host calmed the man down. Because the man was just trying to be like, well, what? Basically, I'm telling you, I ain't saying the words. He said, where he at? Yeah. Because you know what I'm saying? I make $1 billion moves out here. And are you married? And he was like, I want you to tell me this. Like he wished Stephen A. was there so he could say it to his face.
So how did he tell?
And he was talking to a video screen. Stephen A. Smith was not in studio.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm.
And he was Stephen A. Smith was I'm sorry, I didn't mean nothing, woo, like he does with rich Caucasian men.
White man just a joy to be around. They smell like lemon juice and Pledge furniture cleaner.
He's a boy. He's a boy. Because when it comes to talking to the brothers and sisters, Stephen Jackson pointed this out, Stephen A. Smith got smoke for us. But when Dana White slapped his wife, that's my friend.
He's a friend.
Yeah.
I love him.
Dana White is my friend. Now here goes somebody else. Oh, that's not my expertise. I'm sorry. I don't use a mark. I'm talking to Stephen A. Smith.
Right.
You, boy, let me tell you something. If this was before the time of video, because see, a lot of people can't handle their business because of video. You need to be forced to walk around with a dildo in your ass. Whenever you in public, you are supposed to have a dildo in your ass because you are straight punk for who you look at as superior, your boss, as you say. Stephen A. Smith, you punked out again to somebody who is what you look at as your boss. It's embarrassing, dog. You are one of the, like Larry Elder used to get on my nerve. When I used to watch him, I used to be like,
oh my goodness. That is one of Pearl's favorite. I can't say, yes.
What?
Oh no, wait.
Is Larry Elder still alive?
I don't know if he's still alive.
He is, huh?
He is,
Oh,
okay.
All I know is this was an ass-kissing black man.
Yeah, he was.
Oh.
This was an ass-kiss. Look, Serena. She killed that shit. Oh, they ain't showing her. Serena killed. That's when her legs were still big and all like that. And what I'm trying to say to you is this.
What was he going to do? You think he was going to put hands on Stephen A. Smith?
I don't know if he was going to put hands on Stephen A. Smith, but I believe that he was like, where's Stephen A. Smith? He was like, what's up? And Stephen A. Smith had no smoke at all. Just bag down, boy, be quiet.
And that's why we have the position we take with Stephen A. Smith, because it's all performative. There's nothing real there. It's nothing tangible. So now y'all see it, you get it, you understand it. And that's what we wanted to point out to y'all. He said, I could see that coming. Exactly. It was a terrible look for those who didn't understand it. Terrible moment for Stephen A. Because if you gonna talk and you gonna have that smoke, have that smoke. Don't run. You know what I'm saying? That's only gonna make it worse. It's only gonna make it worse. So, yeah, Larry Elder. This is another one. There's a lot of Stephen A's out there. There's a lot of those tokens. And this is just another one. So anyway, I'm out. I'm going to holler at y'all very shortly because we finna get them all out.